You are listening to Vicky Goes On and On with Vicky Stokes and James Wells.
Okay.
I know,
you always say it's a warm flat.
It is. Oh, dude, I've got a funny thing to share with you. A little bit of backstory. About 13 years ago, I joined a group on Facebook.
So 13 years ago, how old are you?
Too old to be joining fan groups on Facebook.
Well, no, you say that, but most people that join fan groups on Facebook are old, aren't they? So.
Well, Facebook is for us old people now, isn't it?
I don't know.
I remember it would have been maybe 2007. I was working in estate agents at the time. I remember. So I joined this fan group for a show called My So-Called Life. Do you remember that show?
I remember that show. I never watched it, but I remember it.
You might be a little too young and, you're not the right demographic for it. It's like teen girl.
Yeah, but I like teen girl stuff,
That's true.
Yeah.
So anyway, the girl who ran it decided for one reason or another that she couldn't be bothered anymore. So she made me the admin. So I was the admin for years and years and years and years. And just basically it was me and my friends who liked My So-Called Life. And, the 10 people that joined this thing, because this girl was, they were her friends or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, I posted some pictures and we, had a little bit of procrastination fun. Anyway, many years pass and I made another girl admin. So it's just me and this Brazilian girl called Teresa. I don't know her. She's just really active on this group. Today, it all started kicking off with a guy whose profile picture, he looks like he has a face tattoo. No judgment, but, I'm casting aspersions a little bit, perhaps. He said something quite innocuous. Somebody else jumps on him and is like, yeah, well, it's Women's History Month, so you can't be talking like that. They all start piling on this guy who friend requests me, sends me a message because we recently posted rules because Facebook groups have changed and they've gone crazy. I got moderated on somebody's status because I said something like men are foolish. He was a man. It was just a funny thing, right? So Facebook are cracking down in a really sort of overbearing way. Anyway, I'm at work, right? I'm like trying to do my job. I'm getting all these messages from the other admin and tattoo guy. He was like, well, the main administrator has taken against me. I say to this guy, ironically, I'm the main administrator, but I'm like a grown-up human being with a full-time job, which I'm trying to do right now.
Yeah.
So I've closed that thread. Can we just leave it now? Mate, I'm 38 and I'm talking crazy shit on a 13-year-old My So-Called Life group.
Does it not fill your heart with joy, the fact that this Facebook group is still relevant to some people?
No, it's more active than it's ever been.
Well, I blame lockdown for that.
Yeah, that's true.
I do know what you mean, though. It's like eBay. That really gets on my nerves when I sell something on eBay, and a day later, people are going, "Have you posted it out yet?" And it's like, mate, do you think I earn
this is not my job.
living selling shitty DVDs on eBay? No, I will post it out when I want to post it out.
When I post it out.
Fucking arseholes.
Is not actually my full-time job.
No.
At least you are getting paid for that. I did say on one of the comments, well, better than Music Magpie. I did say on one of the comments, look, this girl and I are admins, but we don't get paid for this. Like, this isn't our job.
Yeah.
Please do highlight to us anything that you want to, of course, but we can't always jump on these, because they were like, the admins never respond quickly enough. And I'm like, I've got a full-time job, and this other girl's like in Brazil, who I assume has a job and a life, and I don't know.
If not, she's in Brazil.
She once contacted me to say, can you help my friend with some sort of issue, like Facebook-wise, but with some sort of issue? And I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do. I'm just a person.
Anytime you have an issue with this, every reply to this Brazil lady and the tattoo guy should be, I'm sorry, I don't remember what episode that's from.
That's so good. That's such a good idea. Oh, mate, I might do that.
I watched it last night in preparation.
I watched it this week, but then, you know how it ends? I was like, hang on, how does 3 begin? So I started watching 3, and then I was like, I need to stop
You need to start watching 3. Fucking hell. Although, to be fair,
so
you haven't watched
one at a time.
You haven't watched 3 a lot, have you? So actually, watch 3 as much as you like. Fill your boots.
So we're here to talk about Back to the Future Part 2, if that wasn't already abundantly clear.
Now, if I remember rightly, this is your favourite of the Back to the Future trilogy, isn't it? Your absolute favourite.
Because
would you say number 2 is not just your favourite Back to the Future film? Would you say it's like one of your top 5 films, or is it just a good Back to the Future film?
It's definitely
is it up there with Wayne's
It's definitely in the I recently watched Wayne's World 2, and I've only ever seen it one other time. It is so bad.
Yeah, it doesn't beat the original.
No, I mean, but not even in a shit way. Do you know what I mean? It's just so terrible.
Unlike Back to the Future Part 2.
Or Part 3, which is not my favourite. 3 is not in my top 10. Back to the Future Part 2 is definitely in my top 10.
We've always said that they're all pretty much on par with each other.
Okay.
Because it's a coherent story.
Here's why I wanted to start here. Right. So, do you remember when we were discussing the first one?
I do.
I told you about a guy who I worked with, who we had a big old row with each other when we worked with each other at Waterstones.
Yeah.
So I mentioned the other day on Facebook, the Marty doesn't like being called a chicken thing really comes out of nowhere, because I was watching Part 2, right?
And they do it a lot in Part. Once you're aware of it, fucking hell, like
exactly.
Almost in every scene, there's a comment about being a chicken.
Oh. Rob says, I remember us talking about this at 311, which is the branch we worked at. It's such a tacked on thing from Part 2. There was never meant to be a sequel. It was just a funny end credit to Flash Gordon films. The reason I remember the conversation was your outrage at me ruining the trilogy for you. How are you ruining it for me when I've seen it already? And also, I'm at work. It's like, leave me alone. It was a Saturday.
Yeah.
I asked you to point out where the chicken scene was in Part 1, and you went off claiming you would find it. I did no such thing, because that sounds very energetic. So, but here is something that I never considered, and I'd like your opinion. So 2 of my friends on Facebook, these are all male friends, by the way. My female friends do not comment on Back to the Future.
I was going to say, I think there's a huge demographic of male fans of Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Not to be sexist, but...
No. So 2 other people have said something that I was like, huh. So a guy called Simon says, consequences of messing with the timeline, he should count himself lucky. And Alex says, I still maintain he travelled to a parallel 1985 at the end of the first film. This is why the chicken thing appeared in 2 and 3, lol. And I wonder what you think about that he travelled to a parallel, like, therefore, it's because of he messed up the timeline.
So, if we are looking... That's such a good point, and I've never thought of that.
No.
So if we are looking,
thank you, Alex and Simon, if you ever listen.
So okay, let's jump ahead in Part 2, where they go back to 85, and it's all been fucked up, and Biff's in charge, and Doc and Marty are in Doc's garage, and he explains to him what's happened, and that the time is a straight line, and it's skewered into this alternative 1985 because they changed things.
The great blackboard scene, which is parodied so many times. So it's just so simple, but it
works, and it explains everything. However, that alternative 1985 is caused by a change in the past. So Marty changed things in the first one. So the 1985 he goes back to is an alternative.
I mean, we know that because obviously, you know, George
'Cause-
McFly isn't the dweeby dweeb,
no,
and Biff has
and the
got his
parents are happy.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And so something about that has changed Marty to be this whole like he doesn't like being called a chicken thing. So that I never considered that before, and I sort of accept it now. So I think we've solved that one.
We have, but there is a slight contradiction, and I was thinking this when I was watching it the other night, is that, and this goes with what you've just been saying, because Marty goes back in the first one and his parents are better and his home life is better, and there's this, apart from that, everything else seems to be the same, but
Yeah.
for Marty's personal life things are better. Doc is absolutely fine with that.
Yes.
However, in number 2, he wants to go back into, he wants to go forward in time to make sure Marty's life is okay. But then,
but here's the thing, right?
And that his son doesn't go to jail. But then Marty gets the fucking almanac, and then Doc lectures him about don't change time to get rich. And,
that's a really good point, and also leads me to a point, which is because I listened to. Thank you for pointing out. There's audiobooks available. It's called. Oh, what is it? Audio of the Damned. It's this guy. He sounds so much like Jesse Eisenberg, and he reads out the novels.
But he's not Jesse Eisenberg.
No, he's not. His name's Joel Olson. Because I was like, is this Jesse Eisenberg? So I had to look him up.
Well, maybe it is, but he's got like
maybe
an alternative, like a kind of
because I was listening and I was at work. You know, you're sort of taking more in a different way. You know the bit where we overhear because oh my goodness, what's her name? The wife, the girlfriend,
Jennifer.
Idiot. Because Jennifer comes to the house because the police have dropped her off, and so we overhear Marty's mum and dad talking to Marty's daughter about this car accident that he had with the Rolls Royce.
Yep.
And then she says, "Oh, you know, because he doesn't like being called chicken." Now, because I started watching 3, Doc does say something to him about that car accident in it, and I was thinking it in 2, and I was thinking it in 3. Well, why doesn't Doc go and tell Marty to stop that incident? Because that's what fucked up Marty's personal life, which made him get, you know, like, why are you choosing don't send your kid to jail as the thing to change if you're going to change anything, Doc? No wonder he's insane. I mean, he's great, but
this is the problem with, not the problem, but this is the thing with time travel movies, is that you have to just enjoy them, because if you think too much about them, you can pick holes for days. But the thing that Back to the Future as a whole, as a trilogy, has, which some other time travel movies doesn't, is that there's so much more to it than just time travel. There's so much more to enjoy. So all that stuff we've just spoke about, if you're an arsehole, you could be like, oh, it's a load of wank, I'm not going to watch it. But there's so much going on. There's so many layers to it. Do you know what? I did not realise until, so I watched it again last night before we decided to have a chat about it. And I've watched this trilogy since the first one came out in 85. I was born in 85. So I've watched this trilogy for as long as I can remember. And it wasn't until last night that I realised, and some people listening to this might go, I can't believe you didn't know that. I did not notice that when the alternative 1985, the casino that Biff now owns is part of the clock tower, because you can see the fucking clock tower, and even on the TV screen, what Marty is watching at the Biff Tannen Museum, they even mention the dilapidated courthouse being rejuvenated by Biff, and so. But that went over my head, and I was watching it. And I was like, "Oh my god, that's the fucking clock tower." This film,
it's so great, isn't it? That there are all those little threads and Easter eggs and Yeah,
There's
that is what
there's
makes it
not many
enjoyable.
films that you can rewatch over and over again and always find something new.
No, I know. I agree. And
Is that
and
what
also, go on.
I was going to say? Is that why you like it, or is it because of the future sequence, which is only 40 minutes of the film?
Yeah.
Everyone talks about
So yeah.
being the future episode, and it's not really.
So for me, it is a little bit that, but it's also I really like alternate timeline stories. And I
Right.
just think that they do this one particularly well.
Mm.
And because they go into the future, and I always find that amusing. Either you go, oh, that looks exciting, or when you watch it and it's all now in the past, you go, oh my God, how wrong did we get it? You know, so so yeah, it's a bit of both, but I really do like alternate histories and things because I do, you know, it's a really bad film, but I even like things like Sliding Doors. Like it's not the
Oh
best
yeah,
film,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I do like that.
The
What
concept.
if? What
Yeah,
if?
yeah.
You know, like The Butterfly Effect. That wasn't a great film, but anything
You
like
like the
that,
concept of it.
I
You like
just think yes, I
yeah.
love that. I love it. So even if it's badly done, I still quite enjoy the romp. And the other thing that makes this, I think, just of that, maybe it's of its time and whatever, but you know, the we've discussed this before about movies, probably this one, but that like incidental music that you don't really get anymore. You get it a lot in like Beverly Hills Cop and
Yep.
that sort of 80s
Yeah.
movie. And I actually do find when I watch films that have it in there, I do think, do you know what? It is just fun, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah.
can't we just have a little ba-dow bow ba-dow ba-dow doo 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 doo. I
It
mean,
is
why not?
for me. As soon as I start hearing that music, I get such a warm feeling. And again,
Da, da,
that's
da,
because of
da.
like childhood, you know. But even the little like, diddling, like you know the little
Yes, the
like,
little tiny
which
incidental.
starts right at the beginning of the films. You know, you get that,
Yes, it
and it's
does.
like, oh, you know, I remember when we were working in an office and it was open plan. I was sitting there one day,
Ugh, hate
and
open plan.
yeah, I know. But I was
They're
sitting there.
actually really bad for work as well. Anyway,
Yeah,
go
they
on.
are. No, you're right. I was sitting there one day, and from afar, you know, I'd say a good, you know, few desks down, in like another team that I don't, you know, didn't know them at all.
The
Someone's phone,
enemy.
yeah, someone's phone went, and it was that like that little tingle thing that you know in Back to the Future, that,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, I got really excited, you know. It's brilliant. Just
It
yeah,
is brilliant, and I think filmmakers need to bring it back for crying out loud.
like
Just
it's
once in a while.
serious enough, but it's fun enough. There's the right balance of seriousness,
Yes.
but it's still it doesn't lose its fun. That film.
No.
Do you think that it's evident from I say 2 and 3 because they were filmed back to back and the storylines merge into one and they're very much one whole storyline.
Yes.
But is it jarring to you or does it feel quite natural the transition from 1 to 2? Because to me, it's always been that's like what, like let's say that's like 2 weeks or whatever of Marty McFly's life, all the way from the word go, you know, because from the end of number 1 it goes straight into number 2, number 3. That's an epic, you know. He's obviously in the Wild West for a while, so I'd say yeah, 2 weeks of his life, and it doesn't jar me. I think they did it quite well. I know that the ending of number 1 was just supposed to be a bit of a joke,
Yeah.
but then when they elaborated on that and actually made a storyline out of
I
it,
think, yeah, I mean, I think they did that well. It's funny, isn't it? But I suppose because I'm of the era where you would have had them on VHS cassette tapes and you wouldn't have necessarily owned all three. I mean, I certainly remember 2 and 3 coming out.
yeah.
I think that it's only in this age of instant streaming that it's actually been so plainly evident to me that they are one film. Essentially, 2 and 3 are one film.
Yeah.
So yeah, because it's only the other day when I was watching 2 on whatever I was watching on Sky Movies that I was like, oh, hang on, it literally is. Now I have to watch 3
Yeah.
because it isn't finished. It's like it's not an ending; it's a proper pause. I mean, it's not even a pause.
It's a cliffhanger, isn't it? It's a cliffhanger.
Yes, exactly,
Like,
exactly. Yeah. It's an actual cliffhanger. But yeah, it's now evident. And also, I think when you're a kid, you just sort of accept whatever. I mean, one of my favorite films, Mikey and I, when we were kids, was, and I've said this before, was a movie called High Point, which is the most boring film that anyone's ever heard of.
I mean,
it's so boring. Yeah. But you know what little kids are like? They just become obsessed with something and
they'll just watch it over and over again.
Comfort. Yeah. It doesn't matter what it is. It might be an advert for cheese. I don't know why cheese. Do we advertise cheese? Yeah, we do.
I'm sure we do. Cathedral City. Other cheeses are available.
Yes, other cheeses. But guess what cheese I have in my fridge? Cathedral City. Yeah. Mini.
Extra mature.
Blocks. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Whatever's in the net.
Who's eating mild cheese is what I want to know.
I eat all sorts of cheese.
Well, I
don't give a shit.
But who's actively going out?
My dad
mild
does
cheese?
Not. He doesn't consider mild cheese to be a cheese.
I agree with you, Dad. You know, I'll eat it because it technically is a cheese. I
said to him once, but I had it around someone's house because I'd never had it before, and I was about 15. And I said, actually, it tastes quite nice. And he's like, it doesn't taste of anything. He has extra mature. And I'm like, all right, come on. Sometimes you're taking this too far.
No, taking it too far would be vintage mature.
Oh, he does that. Oh, my God, he's an animal.
Yeah, baby.
Here's something that I thought was, I mean, it's not that I noticed it in this film, but it's such a big thing in this film. Flying cars are always in the future, right? Do we really, I mean, look, I can't drive, but you can. Do you really want to be able to fly the car? It doesn't seem like it's a good idea, actually.
I mean,
having thought about it.
I do think in terms of like air traffic control that we have now, when it comes
it'd be a nightmare, wouldn't it?
And there's like the hover conversion thing going on, where
I mean that is clever. I do like that.
which is feasible, isn't it? If cars were, it's like automatics and manuals, I guess. Like if cars were able to fly, look, nice little.
I'm showing James for the
Lego DeLorean.
Since this is not a visual media, I'm showing James that I have a Lego DeLorean that I do tend to keep. You can adjust the wheels so that it's a hover car, and I do tend to keep it like a hover car because I think that's fun. And and Doc's sticking out of it.
Oh, cute Doc.
I actually don't know where my Marky's gone. He's over there probably.
Did you send him back to the future?
I sent him back to the future, yeah. He's in the alternate 1985.
Oh no.
God.
But yeah, it is feasible in the sense that they've painted on the roads like no landing bays and stuff like that. You can imagine that there would be.
Oh no, they imagine it so well.
Yeah,
they've done it so well.
And you can imagine that if it was real, there would be like a transition between all flying cars and people still driving around as normal. But I do agree with you though. It's like a lot of crap.
I mean, and they didn't do it in this film, which is probably another thing that I like. It's like the fashion of the future is always very shiny. They do have some shiny things, but it's
quite colourful though, isn't it? In this one,
yeah,
it's either shiny or it's like not
chrome.
Yeah, or
very
not perspex, but that kind of like coloured kind of acrylic thing going on. Do you know?
And I do like that in this film, people are still wearing jeans. People are
inside out. They're wearing their jeans inside out.
Yes, you must take your pockets out. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you remember Crisscross, but people were wearing jeans back to front.
No,
for 10 minutes in the 90s.
No.
Well, you mist it.
I missed that.
It was a great time.
Did you do that?
Crisscross will make you wanna jump. I refuse to comment.
The one thing that they should have done, which they didn't do, is they should have made the clock tower digital. It should have been a digital clock.
Yeah,
That would have
true.
worked.
That
would look quite fun.
that would be fun.
Yeah.
I do wish we had holographic cinema adverts. That would be fun.
The Jaws one.
Yeah. I mean, not with that sort of graphic.
There is a shit graphic for the.
So bad.
Yeah.
Also,
I mean, he does turn around and he says the shark still looks fake.
Yes.
But the shark in Jaws looks 10 times better than the hologram that comes jumping out at him.
And what is it? Jaws 13.
Jaws 18 or something, isn't it?
I think it's 13. No, I don't remember.
Because Spielberg's like a producer of it, isn't he? He's not.
Yeah, and he uses his son's name as the director on the
does he? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's his son's name. See, it's full of little tiny little yeah. And like another thing is
it's been thought about, hasn't it?
Yes, when he goes into Cafe 80s, as he enters, there's a Pac-Man game, and it says on it that it says priceless artifact, do not touch. Never noticed that before.
Really?
Yes.
Well, so it's not even like, like they've got wild guns.
Yeah, because then he talks to Elijah Wood famously. It's Elijah Wood's first role. It says on it priceless artifact, do not touch.
Wow.
But what's funny about that, of course, is that you can buy these arcade machines, including Pac-Man, on eBay for maybe $1,000 or whatever, but still, we could play them. It's not a problem.
Yeah, but it's almost like treating the 80s stuff, which at the time obviously was the current stuff, as antique, whereas.
Well, I think the Pac-Man thing would have been from the late 70s, actually. So maybe it's, just that bit more vintage.
Oh, it shouldn't even be in Cafe 80s then.
Well, no, it would have been, because it would have been in the. I want to open Cafe 80s, by the way.
I wonder if there are any Cafe 80s in America. I'm surprised that Universal Studios have never done one.
Oh, well, one of them is the Serial Killer Cafe, which is an 80s, 90s theme place. Well,
no, I don't want that. I want one that looks like that, to be honest.
I'm going to see what this
is.
I've
been there. I've been to the Hill Valley. I've been to the problem is that they still use it for filming, so it looks just like a square. Whereas I guess if they wasn't using it for filming, then I would open up the Cafe 80s and have elements of Back to the Future there. Maybe like half of it's Western, third of it's Western, third of it's 50s, and a third of it's future. That'd be really cool. That
would be cool. Okay, you need to become a billionaire and do that.
Make my own Hill Valley, yeah. I've got a question, and I don't know if it. I started listening to the novelisation, but I didn't finish. But I don't know if it's mentioned in there. What are the two people in Cafe 80s on the exercise bikes actually doing?
It's not mentioned, no.
It's not. Are they?
I think they're powering it.
Right, because I wasn't sure whether it was just a thing, like a gimmicky thing in a cafe, like, you can have your soda while doing your exercises.
Well, and also because aerobics was such a big old deal, wasn't it?
But then Griff turns around and says, keep pedaling, you two. So is it something to do with, if it is to power the electric, then that's not very futuristic, is it?
Well, do you know what I was thinking?
We've gone back
to the future. I was thinking, I have always thought that it was to power the monitors that have with
Ronald Reagan and Michael Jackson. Yeah.
And the Ayatollah Khomeini.
That's what I used to think it was.
Because that's why they glitch so badly.
But again, partly why them powering it?
Because it's to keep fit. Plus, I don't know.
It's not explained. It's not explained.
No, I'm going to Google it.
Who are the exercise?
Who are these people?
People in the thing.
Exercise bikes, Cafe 80s.
What is the point?
What is the point?
I'll tell you what I did have to Google. I had to Google, because I've never really thought about it until now. But the guy that's talking to Marty in the future about the Cubbies winning the World Series.
Oh, yeah.
He's in loads of old man makeup, isn't he? And I'm like,
yes.
Why the fuck's in old man makeup? Just get an old man to
play. Because it's the
mechanic,
guy.
Isn't it? It's the mechanic in the 50s who has to clear all the manure from manure, who has to clear all the manure off of Biff's car. And there was a deleted scene where apparently he still didn't pay him the $300 to clean the car. But that explains why they've got the same character, same guy dressed up as maker. Because I'm like, what's the point?
So it says here on
Is this about the exercise bikes?
Yes, it says on backtothefuture.fandom.com Wikipedia. There were 2 exercise bikes in the Cafe 80s in 2015 as a reference to both the cafe's time as Lou's Aerobic Fitness Centre in 1985 and the returning popularity of trends from the 1980s. A man and a woman were working out on these, but stopped when they were distracted by Griff Tannen, causing a scene by throwing Marty McFly Jr. over the counter. The couple hastily resumed their workout when Griff pointed in their direction and ordered, "Keep pedaling, you two." So they are just exercising.
So he's like, don't make a scene.
Mind your business.
Basically. Okay. I don't remember it being an aerobics cafe.
No, I don't remember that.
Oh, actually, in number 1, when he's hanging behind the thing, again, so many fucking layers. When he's hanging behind the car, right at the beginning, and the Power of Love's playing, he waves, doesn't he, at the aerobic people? I've never twigged that's the cafe.
The same bloody place. What are we like?
Fucking hell. It is mad though. There's so much that goes on in that 2015 section, and
as you say, it's such a short bit.
Because then after that, we're off. We're back to 85, an alternative one. We're back, back to the past, back to the past
again, and then back to the future. But it's the present. And that's the other thing, isn't it, that people complain about? And it's not Back to the Future at all, because they actually go to the present. Yeah, all right.
But the amount of times they fucking say Back to the Future, innit? Even right at the end, when
can we just calm ourselves down?
I'll just send you Back to the Future, and he goes, yeah, but I'm back from the future. You know, they
reference it themselves, but also Back to the Present just sounds shit.
Yep.
Internet people complain. I also read I've read an article that was like the makers of Back to the Future admit that Biff Tannen in the bad 1985 was based on Donald Trump, and I'm like, no shit, really?
So the one I've been to Trump Tower. When I went to New York, we went in there, and it is tacky as fuck. And the interior, all the gold fucking shit going on inside, is very reminiscent of
you
Biff
can't
Tannen's
buy
Tower.
class.
Aside from that, I'm not disputing what you've just said, but aside from that, what are the other connections there? Why is the alternative Biff like Trump?
Trump has always been quite obnoxious. And I think it's clear that Biff Tannen is very obnoxious. He's also always had this reputation of being a very ruthless businessman,
right,
who is not kind-hearted, let's say, and very tacky. So all of those things.
I mean, that is Trump all over. So
yes, and
I kind of understand
you've got to remember that even though
looks-wise, he's not very Trump, though, is he?
With that shit hair.
The hair aside, everything else, the sideburns, the kind of Elvis-looking outfit.
Yeah, but the thing is you've got to remember that the Trump of the 80s and 90s is not necessarily the Trump that we know now.
But he always wore a suit.
Yes, but he did sort of have kind of sideburns. But I think also it's just, an exaggeration. And, it's a sort of American pop culture thing of that flashy sort of Texan oil tycoon. Yeah. Like if you think about Dallas or Dynasty, whatever. So it's sort of an amalgamation of that sort of trope plus Trump equals Biff Tannen in bad 1985.
Right.
1985.
I mean, I know we've spoken about this before, but Thomas F. Wilson, who plays Biff, and I think especially in this one, because he has a lot more to do. He's not just because even in number one, actually, when you first meet him and he's bullying George McFly as an older man,
Yes.
he doesn't seem as ruthless and as mean as the alternative 1985 version of the older bit.
Yes.
He's a fucking arsehole in number two when he's but in
Yes.
the first one, he's just like, say hi to your mom for me, and he's just a
Yes.
bit of a bully. Whereas
Yes.
number two, he's a fucking dickhead.
Yeah.
So you in number one, you've got that version, you've got the young version of Biff, and then you've got the kind of the geeky version of Biff, where he's been changed and he's trying to please George all the time. In number two, you've got old Biff, you've got young Biff again, you've got alternative 1985 Biff, you've got him playing Griff as well, his grandson. He's actually a really fucking good actor.
And he's a really lovely man.
A lot of people have said that
before.
yeah.
No, he is really, really lovely. And he seems to
be. But he's
be.
convincing in every element.
He is convincing, yes. But also, okay, so I have thought this before, and maybe it's just I'm feeling old and sensitive, but right, one, he lives with his granny. Where are his parents? Two, his granny is horrible to him.
She literally wants to know where he's going all the time. That's not in number one, is it? We don't know that he lives with his granny.
No, I don't know. I don't think so at all. No, we just know that he's a bully, and we don't see any other side of him apart from, as you say, the alternative, now real 1985, if you like. But look, I know it's a bit sort of, I don't know, pop psychology to say, but people who bully are often in a lot of pain themselves, right? And like, I'm not excusing his behavior, particularly his sexual harassment of the mum, but the way that his grandmother treats him, like, no wonder he's projecting this awful persona.
And the fact that we don't hear about his mum and dad. Possibly.
No, so
it's almost like there's a hint of an origin there where you can see why he became a bully.
Biff's origin story.
Because he is a dick. Like when he chucks the fucking
he is a dick. There's no
ball,
he
chucks the balls away from the little
but
kids.
It is because he's been treated so poorly by his primary caregivers that he's just projecting, negativity and animosity. And he realizes he can get, positive attention through fear, i.e. his so-called friends are scared of him. So they do his bidding, much like he does the bidding of his grandmother.
And in the alternative version of 85, they're still doing it. The bullies.
Because you can get things done if you rule through fear, right? And although it's true that you catch more flies with honey, it's quick, you get quicker results, okay, this is a little bit deep perhaps for Back to the Future, but there's a thing called operant conditioning, which is if you want to train like a dog, you hit the dog and the dog will learn. But you can teach the dog more long-lasting things if you give the dog treats, but it's a longer process, but the dog will remember the tricks a lot. And they found this with children as well. Although you can train somebody to do something quicker with punishment, it actually sticks better if you reward them. So Biff is getting results, i.e. attention and so-called friendship, which he's obviously lacking by being horrible to everybody, right? But he sort of learns, doesn't he? I mean, he's a little bit too cowardly, I suppose, at the end of Back to the Future 1. But I sent you that thing where I read a Reddit fan theory that I quite liked, and again, it's another one of those like little details that you miss, where at the end of 1 he owns his own auto detailing company, because he obviously found something that he was good at and he takes pride in it. So the argument is that everybody's life was improved by Marty going to 1955 originally and changing the future. Because this person goes on to say, you know, he was getting George to do his reports and homework for him. And obviously that would have continued into adult life. The guy obviously is unhappy and cannot work in the job that he was doing very well. And so, you know, I thought there was a really interesting concept that, like, yeah, actually, maybe if he was proud of himself without the need for other people's approval, i.e., his grandmother, who's awful, then he could find some happiness. And then, anyway, that's just me.
It
Maybe
is
that's
quite
just me being a dick.
no, you're right though, but it's quite interesting. And that's what I like about this film, is it does make you think, and I like the way you fill in the gaps, because on the surface you could just go and watch it, and probably as a kid this is exactly what we were thinking, that George McFly stood up to Biff Tannen, and that's why Biff Tannen is now, you know, meek and
I found George
but
so
actually
annoying.
if you then go through the steps, it wasn't just that. It's exactly what you said about George doing Biff's homework. So then if George has stood up for himself, he's obviously then later on said to Biff, I'm not doing your homework anymore, you can fuck off. Biff has then started to fail at school.
Yes.
Which is then the chain reaction, and then what's happened is it's led him to then have to look at
And
an
also,
alternative kind of career and stuff.
And also because he can't keep affording to pay to get his car fixed up. Because it's been hit by manure how many times.
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, fuck this, I'll do it myself. Realizes that he
I'm
quite
good at
enjoys
this.
it and is good at it.
Yeah.
And then maybe a friend of his says, hey, look, you know, do you mind? I'll give you money. Then, hey, you know, you're just, you know, charging mates rates for doing something that you enjoy anyway. You're doing a really good job. So you're taking pride in that. And then all of a sudden you're making money. You can move out of your shitty grandmother's house. Fuck your shitty grandmother. And you've got pride, you've got income. You know, it's just, I don't know. Everything's all interlinked with people, right? Just anyway.
That's the thing. If you really think about this stuff, it is interesting. It's you know, because on the flip side of that, you've got old Biff going back in time, meeting young Biff, giving him the easy way, the almanac, which has changed.
It's an allegory for pulling yourself up by your bootstraps.
But this is what I'm saying, is that, isn't it? It makes you think.
I'll get things handed to you on a plate.
No, but also the opportunities you're given, or what you do with your life, how that enforces what you are like as a person. You know what I mean? Like, I could be a different person had my life gone a different way, and that's basically the story of Biff. Through one, definitely.
I was talking to me,
but more. The story is the story of Biff in number one, but it is more focused on in number two, like re-emphasized, I guess. Like,
yes,
you know, this is, you know, we saw what happened to Biff because his life went this way instead. But
this is Biff's story.
What do you think?
And maybe it is Biff's
until
story.
you get to number three.
Well, I don't know, because Buford's in it, isn't he?
Which we will come on to when we speak about three, because he's brilliant as Mad Dog Tan.
He is. He's just a great actor. And this movie, I mean, this franchise rather, shows his scope, and why isn't he in more things is beyond me.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he doesn't want to be.
Maybe.
And that's cool. I mean, I'm very lazy, so.
I mean, I'm sure he does.
If he can afford to, you know, not work as much as one needs to, then great. I'm happy for him.
Yeah. Sorry, you were going to say about Mead and...
Well, no, because you were saying about, you know, the choices and things that happen to us that we make, and decisions that we take change our life. And I was talking to Susan and Mead on Saturday, and I was saying, and it's something that Susan and I have discussed before, but like, if I hadn't bunked off school quite so much, I wouldn't have been a mature student when I went to university. I would not have met Susan and Mead. There's no way. There's just no way. Our paths would not have crossed. And thus, I would never have met you. I would never have, you know what I mean? Like, there are so many...
It's really easy to dismiss something that you did 10, 20 years ago as irrelevant to what you're doing now. But when you look back and you then go through the stages which got you, it
like,
is
it's really
fundamental.
easy to regret things, right? Like, I regret working at the estate agents for 6 months. But had I not left Waterstone, because I worked at Waterstones twice, right? So had I not left Waterstones the first time to get the job at the estate agent, I want to make it very clear, I was not an estate agent. I repeat, I was not an estate agent. I worked in the office. Estate agents are evil people. I agree.
You did paint pictures for them.
I did paint pictures. Yes, that's true. But had I not done that, which led to that, I would not have been totally miserable in the estate agents. I would therefore not have gone back to college, not have gone to university, not have met Susan, not have met Mead, not have done a comedy course and met you. Do you know what I mean? And like, so many things in my life, personally, I think, are vastly improved by me having bunked off school for ever. And so, like, on the one hand, because I did spend a long time in my young adult life feeling like, oh man, like, I really fucked up here and I shouldn't have done it, like, oh, if only I had gone to university when I should have, it would have been cheaper, I would have been here in my career and not there in my career. But then I wouldn't have met Sarah, I wouldn't have met Hayley, I wouldn't have met Lisa, like, all of these people that I value and love. And so, do you know what? It's a fucking fine trade-off, and I'm really glad that I fucked school up.
Yeah.
So, like, that's not my
but
PSA or anything.
But like, I think if you're happy with your life currently,
I mean, that's a stretch. I'm happy with my friends currently.
There isn't a huge reason to have a regret. Do you know what I mean?
No, and I do think there's that saying, isn't there? It's very cliche of like, don't, like, never have regrets of things that it's like, oh, shut up. People can regret things, like, whatever. But if your life is not where you want it to be right this second, it's not because you fucked up in the past. Just change it now.
So, yeah.
There is no point in saying, oh, well,
I can't change the past.
No, exactly. We don't have a DeLorean with a flux capacitor. So there's no point, I suppose, in regretting stuff.
As we know, if we did have a time machine, a DeLorean, if you go back and change stuff, it's not necessarily
you might end up
thing. You might end up fucking it up even worse.
Well, you might end up with a really weird complex about being called chicken. Like, grow up, Marty. Come on. And then you break your hand. You can't play your guitar anymore. You end up wearing two ties. What's the two ties? Of all of the fashion things,
it's a modern
the two ties is so hilarious.
Again, if we're talking about good actors, I mean, there's a little bit of prosthetics involved with teeth for when he's playing his son, but he's playing his daughter as well, and I think they dubbed that with a different woman's voice. But he's very good at it.
Yes,
he's very good at it.
Got to that.
I mean, he's quite attractive actually when there's a woman.
Now this is where James reveals weird fetishes about Michael J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox is
he is a handsome man,
and a beautiful woman.
There's a bit in the book where I don't know, man. The description is so hilarious. So it's all from Jennifer's point of view, that whole bit.
The whole thing.
And they just keep going on and on about how much both of the kids look like Marty. One, like, fine, sure. Yeah. But also how, like, broad-shouldered the daughter is, and how, like, they're really awful. They're so... but it's really mean, actually. Like, it gets to about 5 or 6... descriptions in. I'm like, okay, that's enough. Like, we get it. She's not a pretty woman. I get it.
Well, I would. I'll tell you the other thing I would as well. I would eat the hell out of that pizza. It always looks so good. The hydrated pizza.
That Black & Decker need to fucking make that a reality. Fuck the air dryer.
Imagine
you've seen air dryers now. Yeah. So people are obsessed with them.
Imagine the storage space you would save if you just bought like a box of 20 hydrate pizzas. Hydrate. I can't speak tonight. Hydrated pizzas. Whack them in the cupboards. or in the fridge, freezer, wherever you add, however
Well,
Black and Decker
for
want to
somebody,
store. I don't know.
for somebody with such a
That's
small
20
icebox
mils there.
mid-beverage, mate.
It'd be
Oh, but
perfect for
then
flats, wouldn't it?
Yes.
It is fantastic. I mean,
I'm
and
so
when it
annoyed
comes out
that
and
my
it's
fridge is so small.
steaming,
I
and
know.
it looks so tasty.
I also like that that weird, you know,
the fruit thing
plant
that comes
thing.
down.
I love it.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah. I mean, there's some amazing little things in the future. Apparently,
I
they
do
got like
think
50% of the future right. Maybe not 2015,
50?
because 2015 was
no
not.
one uses fax machines.
2015 was
Come
not.
on. The fax
One,
machine
no one
is
uses fax machines, and
ridiculous.
two, why
No
have you
one's
got
wearing
loads
tube
of like
ties.
fax machine like dispenser things in like
I know, everywhere.
Yeah.
Who do you do that?
Fucking,
I do like
in the
good
closet
stuff.
where she's hiding. Oh, we'll have a fax machine in there as well, shall we? Okay. You don't often go in there. So what's going to happen is like, give it 2 months. You're going to open the
Open the
closet and there's a
door.
fucking pile of faxes. You're like, oh, fuck.
That's true. I really like the massive laser discs. It's like, because I know that was a
Are they
thing
the
for
ones
about 10
that are all
minutes.
packed up? Is that the way you're
Yes.
talking? Yeah, I
Yeah.
noticed that. I never noticed that before. But they were a
Oh, I
thing,
noticed
weren't they?
that.
But
They
they
were
just
a
didn't.
thing. They were a thing for 10 seconds
Yep.
in 1984, right?
Yep.
I mean, seriously. No, I even knew people
No, they
that owned
came back
Betamax.
in like,
Yeah,
they
but
were in
come
like
on,
the
man.
90s as well, weren't they? Or early 2000s. They tried
What,
to,
laser discs?
yeah, like massive kind of vinyl size CDs.
It's ridiculous.
And then I think very soon afterwards DVD came out, and then just shit on. It was a bit like MP3 players. Like they came out, and then
Don't you mean
sorry,
mini disc?
mini disc, yeah, mini disc come out, and then MP3
Mini
players
discs
came
are
out a month
hilarious,
later
man.
and just fucked off mini
The
discs.
thing is, right, here was my problem with mini disc already. I already had a tape cassette player and a CD Walkman, right?
Yeah.
I ended up, I think I then bought a better tape Walkman and would just make mixed tapes because as we've already established, I'm very old now.
Yeah.
And so, but my tape Walkman had radio on it as well, right? So, and I'd spent like £70. I mean, this was fucking high tech bloody Walkman, right? And I broke Kelly's one. I had to buy her a new one. Anyway, that was just a memory that came to me. But I did buy her a new one. My point being, like, we'd already got tapes. Why am I bothering to then buy another thing just to make mixed mini discs? Because it was very difficult even then to buy an album that was on mini disc.
Yeah, but they was very good at editing with them. That was the thing about the mini disc.
Well, I had a
was
hi-fi, and I would just press record and play. I was old school, man.
You were old school.
I was keeping it real. And I used to make
5 minutes in 2015.
I would have been fine. I'm very good at keeping abreast of technology, actually.
Really?
I'll have you know, madam.
Would you have worn 2 ties?
No, because I'm a woman.
Yeah, but 2015, yeah. The thing is, I don't feel like
I would have worn those trainers.
Aside from Apple, the trainers are amazing. Aside from like Apple technology and televisions getting skinnier and stuff like that, it doesn't feel like much has changed since I was a kid. So when I watch Back to the Future now, aside from them mentioning the word 2015, I still kind of watch it as if it's the future. Do you know what I mean? Like
I do. Like, I do know
that
what
could
you mean.
be. I could be watching that now, and that could actually be set in 2055 or something.
I do know what you mean, but I really do disagree that not a lot has changed.
Really?
Yeah.
Like what?
Okay, maybe it's just there's only a short difference in our age, actually.
I mean, obviously, things like the internet, that's a big thing.
Right, but the internet, mobile phones.
But fundamentally, just like the look and feel of a lot of stuff is not as extreme as what you see in 2015. Like the clothes we were wearing, for instance, they're pretty much standard of, what we wore 20 years ago. It's almost like we've hit a wall because now everyone's going back, and they're there's elements of the 80s, or there's
I
the elements
saw
of the
that.
60s or the 90s.
I saw that in the 90s.
It's not as drastic. Do you remember Camden and Cyberdog?
Yeah.
So that was like, let's try and get the future out there, and it's never cotton on. Whereas like 2015 in Back to the Future Part 2 is so radically different. Like everyone is wearing the multicolored or the two-tone and the perspex and the acrylic. Like the old people,
I don't know, mate. I remember
the old people
80s.
are wearing it. Even like old Biff is looking a bit futuristic in his checkered pants and stuff. Whereas now, in real life, you might see an old person.
Do you know though? I think that part of that might be, and I do think it's a very modern phenomena actually.
Go on.
This like, oh, what the fucking hell is the word? This you know, like millennials versus generational wars, right?
Yeah.
So there's always been a thing where it's like, oh, the kids today, but now it seems really heightened that like Gen Z is against millennials, who are against boomers, who are against Gen X, who are against millennials, who are against. That has never been a thing before. It was always like, oh, these kids nowadays, this bloody music, you call this music? That's always been the thing. But now Gen Z are attacking millennials for like wearing skinny jeans and having a side parting. Maybe I spend too much time on the internet.
I was going to say the internet is a problem.
The internet's bad.
There's not much mentioned of the internet in Back to the Future Part 2.
No, there isn't. And there were a couple of things that I was like, oh man, they got that really wrong. Which is why I scoffed when you said that they got loads of it right. Because I was like,
the Cubbies did win the World Series.
Yes, I know.
We've got automated waiters and waitresses now in certain restaurants.
In Legoland in Denmark, there is this thing where you like plug bits of Lego into this thing, and then you like an old sort of cartridge game, then you plug it into this computer screen, and then your meal comes. I want to go to Legoland. Then basically that's what.
What if you were really hungry and you're like, just feed me?
I don't know.
What if you were like, low blood sugar and you're like, I can't build something, I just need food?
No, you don't have to build something. You just like put like 3 yellow blocks is a chicken Kiev. I don't know. There's just various different blocks mean various different things, and you've got like a flat bit of Lego. You plug the bits of Lego on it. You don't have to build anything. It's not like build a house and then we'll feed you some chips. No, James, I know you're diabetic, and I know that blood sugar is always a thing. But maybe you can get 99 calorie Snickers, and so they're like not
all that is a small.
Not a fun size. Yeah, but it's like not a fun size, and it's not as big as so it's not as small as a fun size.
The only reason it's less calories is because they've made them a little bit smaller.
Yes.
But that's like them bringing out a 10 calorie one, and it's literally a bit out of Quality Street.
Listen. Yeah, that's true. But if I buy a fucking box of Quality Street, you think I'm not eating the whole fucking box of Quality Street? Because let me tell you, my friend, I will.
10 calories at a time.
And I will feel sick, and I'll do it again.
Yeah. Is there anything in the novelisation that's different from number 2?
No. But
apart from the broad shoulders of the
so there are things that you're kind of you're sort of privy to more thoughts, like when Jennifer's in the house, she sort of makes observations that obviously we don't hear because they're just their thoughts. I was going to say it doesn't add. It does add, but it certainly doesn't subtract from the movie. Because of course it's a novelization of the movie rather than it was a book and then there was a movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there were just like a couple of things, like, she says, she looks at the wedding picture and she says, we got married in the Chapel of Love. The Chapel of Love. There's just a sort of another sort of thought of like, why did you get married in the Chapel of Love? What happened? What happened to the big white wedding that I wanted, sort of thing. So it doesn't really, you're not missing out on much, but it's sort of more well-rounded, I suppose, thought.
So,
And also it was fun that he fluffed lines a couple of times, and that was just funny.
The audio.
Yeah, that was fun. There's one bit where, and then at the end he says, "I'd just like to make a point of saying that it's really difficult to say the word DeLorean when it's in the middle of a sentence."
I love how he didn't edit anything. He just like,
no, he didn't.
Reading.
And there's one bit where he flubs the word thugs, sort of says slugs or something, and then he says, "Oh fuck."
Excellent.
Thugs,
Yeah. Amazing. But do you not think?
Yeah.
Do you not think like audiobooks in general? It would be so good if I mean, I know a lot of authors now, especially ones that are writing. Yeah, no, they do write fiction, but are writing stories about their own life. They read their own audiobooks. But it would have been really good if Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd read the novelizations to the Back to the Future with the voices and stuff. It would be amazing.
Yeah, because you were disappointed with his sort of lackluster Doc.
You need to go a bit over the top with Doc, though, don't you?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Christopher Lloyd is just
fantastic,
amazing. I love him so much.
I like
so
Doc's
great.
fashion sense in number 2. I like his like yellow and purple shirt.
Yes, I like his binoculars.
Yep, and he's got like the kind of yellow long jacket on and stuff.
Yeah.
And he has the whole rejuvenation.
Love that scene. I've always loved that scene.
Because obviously,
it's so different.
Well, this is the thing though. Like they had to think of ways around that, because in the first one, it is him playing his younger self in the 50s. When you see him in the 80s, he's older. But then after that, it's not the 50s Doc, it's the 80s Doc. And rather than have him in makeup all the time, let's get out of that by saying, well, I've gone to the future and I've been to a rejuvenation clinic. And it works. It works. What doesn't work is the fact that Michael J. Fox's hair is longer in this than it is in number 1, and it pisses me off. It really winds me up. So they had to reshoot the first part of Back to the Future Part 2 because Claudia Wells wasn't doing. She didn't come back for Jennifer. So they had to redo all of that.
Let me tell you, I watched both 1 and 2 many times before I noticed.
Really?
Terrible.
Really?
I'm just like, yeah, you ain't Marty or Doc. I don't give a shit.
I don't care.
Terrible. I'm just like, some woman. All right.
Yeah. And actually, we'll come on to some recasting conversation in a minute.
Yes.
But they reshot that scene for part 2, so it all flowed in fine. But his haircut is a bit longer. And it's like, that little detail winds me up. And then when he goes back to the 50s in part 2, and they intermingle it with scenes from number 1, some of them scenes are taken from number 1, and other different points of the Enchantment Under the Sea dance that you didn't see. So it's Michael J. Fox now with fucking longer hair, so his hair keeps changing. So like when he's punched Biff, George McFly, and his hair's longer. Then when he's up on stage singing Johnny Be Good, it's gone back to being short. Fucking hell.
In someone's defense, this reminds me of the old joke about how people can't tell that Clark Kent is Superman just because he puts upon a pair of glasses. I want to suggest that people are so unobservant that even within 4 minutes, people would not notice in real life. Let's say that's guess true.
If I've watched the same film over and over again.
I mean, that's kind of on you. Yeah. But like, if Hayley came out now and had 1 inch shorter hair,
or longer,
you probably would not notice. No. you know, I remember being like, but he's just got glasses on. I don't understand. Why don't they? And then I read that like Charlie Chaplin famously didn't win a Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest.
Yeah.
Dolly Parton didn't win a Dolly Parton lookalike contest.
Yeah.
You know, like, and actually.
So basically you're saying people are stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I stand by
Well,
that.
no
That
one,
is my political platform.
no one at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance notices.
They were all drunk.
They were.
They spiked the punch.
In the film's defense, that whole sequence where it interlocks with things that are you've already seen before is very well done. It's very clever. Long hair aside. Like even when he's singing Johnny Be Good and he's
even when
versions,
you know the scene where Marty Senior is in Cafe 80s behind the counter and Marty Junior also
gets chucked over.
Even that, you know, because sometimes when you watch things and you know that they're doing a split screen thing, you can kind of see it. Even that. And considering this was, you know, not nowadays.
Yeah, I don't think it's dated much.
No, I think they did that really well. And you know the scene where Biff and
Biff
are in the car.
In the car, yeah.
And okay, they've got that line because of the windshield.
Because of the window,
Yeah, but even so, sometimes I watch things even now that are filmed like right now.
Yeah.
And there's like, I don't know, like a millisecond of pause or something, like they just haven't edited it well or something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But you can kind of see that, I don't know, it just jars somehow. But
I mean,
I was watching that the other day and thinking, do you know, they acted it well, they edited it well.
They do it quite a few times, don't they, as well? Because they do it with Doc when Doc he's setting up for the lightning.
Yeah, they did. That scene is so good.
That's really clever.
Before we talk about the recasting thing,
yeah,
just because I will forget because I know what I'm like. I've read a thing about you know, when they're in the tunnel and basically Doc saves the day with the
string
flag
with a what's it called, bunting.
Yes, that's right. I read a thing that was like they timed it perfectly because Doc did it loads of times, and so there are basically loads of sort of dead end timelines where he fucked up, and so there are all these like dead Martys. What do you think of that?
That would be amazing. What a spin-off that would be. However, though, how does that work?
Having listened,
no, but how does that work? That doesn't work because then you'd have like 20 DeLoreans in the.
But basically, yeah. Well, so the idea is, and my brother Philip fucking hates fan theory.
I mean, that one, I thought that was a clever idea until I thought there's going to be about 20 DeLoreans in this.
Well, that he just keeps going back a couple of minutes or whatever.
Doesn't work. People need to shut up.
All right.
Doesn't work. Doesn't work.
Now we talk about the.
When you said about the tunnel, I thought you were going to say that it's the same tunnel that's in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Is it?
Robert Zemeckis also directed, and also starred Christopher Lloyd as the really creepy fucking judge.
He's amazing. That's why
he is.
Have you seen a movie? It's called Cool World.
Yes, Brendan Fraser.
No.
Oh no,
that is Monkey Bone.
Monkey Bone, sorry. Yeah,
which I also.
I haven't seen Cool World, but I know of it. Yeah.
And like the only rule in it is that you can't have sex with cartoons. Anyway,
if we lived in a world of human beings mingling with cartoons, that would be the first thing that I'd want to do.
With Jessica Rabbit.
Every man or anyone. To be fair,
anyone. I'd bang Bugs Bunny.
I'd give it a go. Minnie Mouse. Minnie Mouse. I'd give it a go. Yeah.
Daisy, I'm on your team.
She's a bit of a slut.
Well, maybe I like the bad duck.
Yeah, I mean Jessica Rabbit's such a
cliche.
Cliche, isn't it? Yeah, I always go for the underdog. So Scooby Doo. Betty Boo, yeah. I can imagine she's a bit needy.
Like I imagine she's on heroin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In that sort of loose jazz club kind of way.
Yeah, probably Daphne or something from Scooby Doo, actually, or She-Ra. That'd be nice. She-Ra'd probably break me in two.
When I was a kid, I thought that She-Ra and He-Man were husband and wife.
Lovers. Yeah, they're not there. Are they brother and sister or they're cousins?
No, they're cousins. Yeah.
Well, they could be husband and wife then, because
that's true. That is true.
I don't know what happens in Eternia, but
hey, what goes on in Eternia stays in Eternia.
Royalty, you can always
tell me about
marry your cousin. So
I'm trying to think of which cartoon character I would have sexual relations with, and
any of the Disney princesses.
I don't roll that way, actually. Oh, maybe Olaf. He's cool. Do you like my joke?
Very good. Very good.
That was a good joke. I wouldn't really fuck a snowman.
I never thought I'd say that sentence.
Anyway, that was a side note. So, recasting
Crispin Glover. What happened there?
Controversial.
Did he want more money? Was it he wanted more money?
It was that he felt that the ending of the first one was contrary to what he thought the ending should be, i.e. that happiness came from material success. So he's kind of quite avant-garde as a human being. He was just like, mate, I really disagree with this premise that it's only that they're happy because they made loads of money, because he was a successful author. Right?
I thought it was though because he stood up for himself and he got some balls. It wasn't.
He felt that because if that was the ending, that would be fine and that would make sense and that's great. But the point being that the family as a whole, it appeared that they were happier because they were rich.
Right. I didn't get that from it because they still lived in that house.
But I suppose like he had that Jeep and they were, in tennis whites and it was all very sort of waspy, New England country club kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one thing. I mean, you say that you heard that it was because he wanted more money, but that's not
well, no,
I thought.
That's what I assumed. But then
no.
Didn't he sue them?
Because they used his likeness in the second one.
Yeah.
And so
he's obviously not in the third one at all.
No.
But in number two,
that's fine.
They kill him off.
Yeah.
And they do that clever thing in the future where, I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't fucking know that it wasn't him when I was.
No, I didn't know that.
And because they tip him upside down, that always helps as well. But maybe was he more fussed? Was he fussed about being recast because that happens all the time? Or was he more fussed about the killing off bit and Marty finds the newspaper cutting about George being murdered? It's got a picture of George McFly on there, isn't it? Is that what he's pissed off about?
But no, it's because they used a face mold. They used
oh really?
Yeah.
I suppose they had them because they had the face mold because they made up for when he looked older at the end of the first one.
Exactly.
So
they used prosthetics and with sort of.
And to be fair to the guy that does it after him,
he did it really well, of course. But it says here that he didn't like the sequel's script.
Right.
But I also have seen, this is what Crispin Glover said in an interview. Had they only hired another actor, which is kind of what I thought had happened, that would have been totally legal and I would have been completely fine with it.
Yeah.
The use of an old face mold went too far. Glover sued, and according to Doug Carey, his attorney at the time, the complaint itself was purposefully short and simple. Basically, you used my face, literally used my face.
Yeah.
And so there was, and now there's a legal precedent.
You can't do that anymore, can you? I don't think.
Yeah, it's because of Crispin Glover.
The Crispin Glover clause.
Yes.
Isn't it interesting though, because he was obviously, and admittedly, he had a big part in number one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he's known for, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's known for Back to the Future. And
So
he
here,
is predominantly in number 2 as well. You know,
he is, yeah.
you know, maybe not physically, but he looms over it, because obviously they use his likeness with the mask, but then when he goes back in time to the 50s, they're using bits of the film, aren't they? The original film. So
Yes, they are.
that's Crispin Glover as well, isn't it?
Yes.
So you can see why it would be confusing, because you'd think, well, if Crispin Glover's in the 50s section, that must be Crispin Glover as the older. If you wasn't in the know and you didn't bother looking into credits, which at the time people wouldn't have done, you know, there wouldn't have been this, oh, let's go on Wikipedia, let's go on IMDb. You would come out of the cinema seeing Crispin Glover from the scenes from number 1, plus the 2015 bit, and you would just assume that was Crispin Glover all the way through.
Yeah, I mean, I did until I was really, really old.
Exactly. And Wikipedia became a thing, and fucking researching the shit, you know.
Yes.
She's good in it. Again, Leah Thompson as the mum. Again, she's mainly, well, she does the little bit at 2015 where she's like all old and like, oh, hello, Marty. She's a bit like that.
She does do it well. And I also thought that
but when she does
prosthetics are good for what they are. You know,
are you talking about the boobs later on? Or are you
well,
talking about...
all of them.
Yeah.
The boobs are shit looking. Yeah. But I think purposefully.
I think they get around it, don't they? Because she's like, you're the one that wanted me to have these things. They get around it by making it intentionally bad surgery. You know, they look shite. You know, plastic. They look fake. They look, yeah. I mean, she even said herself, I think she looked like a drag queen. But yeah,
she does look like a drag queen. Do you know who she looks like a little bit? You know when Kenny Everett dressed like a woman?
Oh yeah, with the big plunging.
Yeah.
Stuff. And the best.
She always.
Death. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, like Marty, when he wakes up and she's like, "What's wrong?" and he's like, "You're so big." I wouldn't have said that. I would not have said that. No, you don't need to say that.
Anyway,
last time we spoke about Back to the Future Part 1, I gave you a couple of facts, and I wanted your opinion on them, and I think I'm going to do the same for this one. So Back to the Future Part 2 was originally going to be set in 1967. A version of Part 2's script saw Marty travel back to the year 1967, where he is arrested for not having a Vietnam War draft card. George and Lorraine McFly, having successfully paired off at the high school's dance, grow up to become hippies in the anti-war counterculture craze. The killing blow to the concept, however, was that the idea of Marty going back in time to fix his parents' mistakes was much too similar to the first film. Instead, Zemeckis thought traveling to the future would be more fruitful. So what do you think? Do you think they would have got to a Part 3?
Well, I think they would have shoehorned a Part 3 out of it, but I don't know. Maybe I lack imagination. I can't envisage a world where he goes to 1967 and then what? He gets arrested and then? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, it feels like a very
bit pointless,
a very dead end of a story. I think you get arrested and then Doc has to save him, I'm sure, somehow.
And even though his mum and dad are part of that plot.
Yeah, but not really.
Not really. Right? I think what makes Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3 really good is that it's personable and it's very focused on Marty and his family.
And it's personal.
So then the other fact, or it's not a fact really, the more question. So this goes back to what we were saying really at the beginning. Why is it okay to bring a hoverboard into the past, but not the sports almanac?
Because the hoverboard does not give you the ability to make bets, to win bets.
But what if they would have lost that and then someone would have found it?
Listen, I've got, as I've already said, right, I think that Doc should have gone back to when Marty had that accident with the Rolls-Royce driver. I suppose it goes back to what we were saying about making easy money is like corrupt Biff. Because it's like biblical, isn't it? Because money is like the root of all evil, and you know, like I just felt like I was being really wanky there. But I do feel like it's because there's some sort of cautionary tale. Because here's what I was thinking, and I have thought several times. In the museum, it says that he placed his first bet when he was 21 and he became a millionaire overnight, right? So that's already quite a fucking newsworthy event, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And my feeling is that not necessarily immediately that would change the events of the future, but surely butterfly effect and all.
Yeah.
I don't know, a quarter of the way through that almanac, surely some of the results will have changed.
Oh, well, like a knock-on
But
effect and something.
yeah, because he might buy something that causes an effect on something, which causes an effect on
So
a football
you'd like to
game.
think, at least one of the teams or one of the horses or something
Yes,
would be affected, and then the game wouldn't happen.
like
Which then in turn would then affect other ones.
Yes, or at least one. I mean, at least one. Okay, I don't know that much about American football, but I know enough about the English Premier League to know that, like, sometimes it is true, is it not, that a game is lost by, I support Arsenal, right? So let's say like Arsenal play Liverpool and Liverpool are on a winning streak, but they lose because Arsenal beat them because they were doing well just that day, which causes a knock-on effect to Liverpool, affects their confidence or whatever. And so it sort of spreads out through the season, through the Premier League season, where at the halfway point, Liverpool were doing really, really well and Arsenal weren't doing very well.
But how does Biff winning something affect their team?
Because, and maybe it's only in the book, actually, but it is sort of alluded to a little bit. It's kind of polluted, isn't it, in 1985B? It's kind of dirty and grungy and something's going on. Yeah. And in the book, I think it's much more clearer that he builds like power stations and stuff in Hill Valley. I don't know if that is
he's obviously he's got.
I don't know if that is clear.
He says he owns the police, so he's obviously got his fingers in a lot of pies.
So he builds like power stations, right?
Yeah, it's like Biffco or something like that. It's called,
yeah, that's right. It is Biffco. So my thinking is that because of the air pollution caused, which we can see visibly in Back to the Future 2, that will have a detrimental effect on literally the environment and the physical health of nearby athletic teams, which is going to cause a knock-on effect on the results of his gambling. That's why I think that the almanac will work, let's say 10 years max. I mean, but then perhaps he doesn't use it anymore to gamble.
Maybe.
Maybe, because I know he keeps it in a safe, sure, but he's probably, already earned enough money to just, have that as capital to sustain, so perhaps that's a moot point anyway.
Why is it okay though to bring a hoverball to the past? Because like you've just said, there's a knock-on effect there. What if a clever person was just walking down the street or managed to catch sight of Marty and Biff at the end in the car and catch the hoverball? Well, I'm just saying.
Because and I say that.
All I'm saying is
no.
This
I
is the
agree
question
with you.
that's come up.
But are we going to pick at that thread? Because I would like to rather pick at the thread of why doesn't Doc stop the fucking car accident? I'm now obsessed with this car accident.
I guess this is the thing. You run the risk if you get too serious about it of just going down this rabbit hole of but what if this, what if that, what if this, what if that? And it goes back to what we were saying. Just enjoy the film, just enjoy it and love it for what it is.
Well, sure, but I suppose because even though it is mentioned in the movie, I think it's kind of skipped across. And because I listened to the audio
Well, the
book,
car accident.
yeah,
Yeah, but
it is
it's kind of resolved, isn't it? And focused on right at the end of number 3.
right. And because, as you know, I've only watched number 3
Once.
1.5 times, right?
One and a bit, and then you turned it off the other night.
With that in mind, that I'm only on 2, which I have watched more than once.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much as number 1.
Yeah.
Because it was on a lot when I was.
Yeah, you're kind of thinking, well, what is this car accident? When you know?
Because it took maybe 3 watchings for me to go, oh, there was a car accident. Because it's just kind of like Lorraine mumbling some bullshit about, you know what I mean?
Car accident.
She's just sort of like,
called
oh, you know, your
chain
grandfather,
reaction.
he did a thing in a golf cart and he's in a thing, he's all right. And you know, your father, you know, Marty, he did a thing, you know, and you're like, okay, what? Okay.
Yeah, it's all very like,
Do you know what I mean, right? And she's like, he hurt his hand, he couldn't play his music, and he, you know, he doesn't like to be called yellow, and oh my god, you know.
Yeah, it's a lot
and
of
so there's a lot of
exposition,
flippy
isn't it?
flappy,
Like, boom, 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 boom.
and there's just a lot of flippy flappy nonsense that
which again
I didn't really concentrate on,
and you don't need to, do you? You don't know, because it's just fun.
Exactly,
it's just fun.
And then as an adult, I remember watching it and being like, I remember saying to probably Philip, because it was on ITV2 every day for the rest of our lives, and it was on, and I remember saying to him, I don't understand why, you know, what's going on. And he was like, oh, because of the car accident. And I'm like, what fucking car accident?
Yeah.
Then we get to that scene and he goes, listen. And I go, oh, there was a car accident. Oh, okay. All right. So now I'm obsessed with, why doesn't Doc go back to the fucking car accident?
Yeah.
Why isn't that a thing? I'm going to Google.
I mean, I guess if he did that, we wouldn't have a whole movie of 2 and 3, would we? We'd probably have a different kind of movie, to be honest.
Well, apparently we'll have this one where they go to bloody Vietnam, to 1967, and so I mean, what sort of nonsense is that? That's a shit movie. Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, my last fact for you is we're going back to 1985 alternative reality now. Okay. So, Marty's sister Linda was supposed to reappear as a sex worker.
Oh.
So,
dark.
As part 2 shows in horrifying detail, changes to the past can result in a radically different future. We've discussed this. As if this point wasn't driven home enough by George McFly's death and Lorraine's enslavement to Biff, Zemeckis and Gal also had a dark future plan for Marty's sister. According to early drafts of the script, the entire McFly family was intended to head down a bleak path in the event of Biff's rise to power. For example, Marty's brother Dave does not appear in the film, though Biff uses his probation as a bargaining chip with Lorraine. In a deleted scene, which I've watched, it's revealed Dave has become an alcoholic because Marty actually meets Dave in this deleted scene outside Biff's tower. The scene was cut because another McFly sibling scene couldn't be filmed at all. Wendy Jo Sperber, who plays Marty's sister Linda, was meant to appear as a sex worker. So Biff does mention in number 2. So he talks about idiot son Dave about the probation, and he said, "I'll cancel all the
credit cards." Yes,
which could also line up with being a sex worker. You know, money's tight, and she needs money to survive while she's being a sex worker. How do you think that would have fared in a family-friendly?
I mean,
time travel.
The second you said sex worker, I was like, well, that's why they cut that out, because it's like,
was it PG now?
I don't even know. We've had these conversations before. I don't even know what they are anymore.
At the most, it's 12.
Watch them all.
Surely it's a 12A. Surely 12.
Yeah. I mean, they're certainly family friendly, aren't they? Even in the dark 1985 B reality, it's still quite family friendly, isn't it? Yes, it is. Yeah. Although, you know, the way that Biff talks to Lorraine in the 50s and the 80s and whenever, it's so dark, isn't it? Anyway, maybe that's just me looking too much into it as a sort of adult.
Oh, going, I mean,
God, my God, it's so dark.
Yeah, he's a prick. He's a prick.
Oh, isn't he? But
I mean,
and I
he's
hate to
probably.
admit
I hate.
this.
Well, go on.
Very good looking.
What version? The young version or the Trump version?
Well, the young version.
I mean, if Linda's a sex worker,
yeah,
I wouldn't surprise me if he's bought some off of her.
No,
You
I
know what I
know.
mean? Yeah.
There was a part of
I mean,
me when I was
it could go really dark, couldn't it?
It could.
And
No,
you
it
can do light-hearted sex worker, because I mean I watched Pretty Woman for the first time the other week, and I fucking loved it.
First time?
I've never seen it, and do you know what I actually said to Hayley afterwards? I think this is actually one of my favourite films now. But it starts off really weird, doesn't it? It's a bit like, oh, this is a bit odd.
Well, so the original story though was that she was addicted
darker,
to heroin.
Yeah,
a lot darker.
Yeah. But then once they whacked in that Go West song at the beginning,
do you know?
The greatest Go West
song.
So
I saw that film. Oh, I would have been maybe 11 when I saw it. My favorite bit is one. I really love her boots because they go up to her thigh.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
So maybe I've got some sort of kinky fetish. I'm not sure, but also, I fucking love 11-year-old Vicky. Right?
I'm picturing it in my head. Yeah, 11-year-old Vicky.
Fucking loved when she takes that wig off.
Yeah, the blonde wig, and she's
there's just something,
and she's sitting there watching
amazing about it
or something. Yeah,
just
that
she looks like one thing.
Yeah,
and then she takes that wig off.
I don't know,
man. There's some sort of sexual awakening.
I know. I totally agree. It starts off so weird though, and a bit. You're like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna. This is a bit.
I don't know.
But by the end of it, you're rooting for both of them, aren't you? You're just like, come on, get with her. I mean, as soon as King of Wishful Thinking kicks in,
just because of
I forgot that song was in it. I'd never seen the film, but I knew that song was in it, and then it comes on in the credits, and I was like, I'm gonna love this film.
Go West. I mean,
yeah. We close our eyes, we never lose.
Imagination never lets us take the blame. By the way,
I still think King of Wishful Thinking is their best song.
You know.
Like literally, I will part a crowd if that comes on in a disco.
Oh mate, I really want to win the lottery so that I can own a nightclub.
Let's be modern, a club, not a disco.
Discotheque.
Let's go to the disco.
Let's go to the discotheque.
I get over you. I know I will.
By the way,
my ship's not thinking. Followed by, don't take money, don't take fame, don't need no credit card to ride this train.
Susan likes when we do singing.
Do singing. I like when you do singing.
Do the singing.
This has been a Head Full of Straw production of Vicky Goes On and On with Vicky Stokes and James Wells.